So we are on the verge of the highly anticipated NBA Finals. I don't know. It depends who you ask, but I'm excited about it. Here's the thing. I think this is going to be a really interesting NBA Finals. I thought about making a scripted video, but as a new dad who has hardly any time and hardly any sleep, I was like, why don't I just do a segment with my boys, call it a video? And, some people will get mad at me in the comments saying, this isn't a regular video. Why would you do this to me? I'm sorry. Okay. I have other things in my life. But anyway, so we're having this discussion, and what I was originally going to title the video, I might still end up doing it, is these NBA Finals will reveal the truth about the NBA. And here's what I mean by that. People have been saying forever that they really want competitive NBA Finals, physical NBA Finals, physical playoffs, which we've had these playoffs. It has been very competitive, very physical throughout. There's a little bit of the whole conversation, which we won't get into right now with, foul baiting and foul merchant and all that. That's for another segment we're planning. But I think what's really interesting about these finals in particularly is in 25 out of the 26 last NBA finals, either California, Texas, or Florida has been representing the NBA finals. This year, it's between Oklahoma and Indiana. And so typically not two big markets, big cities that are celebrated by the NBA.
Yeah.
And a lot of fans get annoyed by mainstream media and the NBA's obsession with Los Angeles, New York. Giannis needs to be traded from Milwaukee because it's Milwaukee, and who cares? It's like that's always the narrative. But now we're getting an NBA Finals with, these two states where not big cities, not big markets, not much is exciting there. I'm excited about it as a hardcore NBA fan, but I'm looking forward to seeing what this viewership is like and how people are going to respond to it. So, Russell, are you excited about these finals?
I almost want to piggyback off of what you're saying, too, because I had a thought. The haters of the player empowerment era, I feel like, should love this NBA Finals, and here's why. Yeah. These are two new school rosters, right? They are built in an old school way. Which organic, meaning, well, I don't call it organic. I just call it via general manager. Or organic is a weird way to put it. I feel like it could be anything could be done organic. If LeBron dabs up Dwayne Wade in the Olympics and has an organic friendship, and then they become a team, to me that's organic. So for me, it's via general.
Get out of here.
See, that doesn't make sense. So to me, that's. I think general managers just building it through the old school way of via general manager. And I think this finals is going to show basically where the NBA is going. And in my opinion, and I started noticing this in the last two seasons, it's really the future of the NBA, in my opinion, in terms of where the playoffs have gone. It's about depth and skill over a team that is completely top heavy than maybe it would be like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, where we're seeing, look at these rosters. If we're looking at the internet, right? Look at these rosters.
Yep.
All these guys, both these teams go 10 deep in the playoffs. Guys playing at least 9 deep, right? Guys still playing, but not that many minutes still. If we go to Indiana, they played 11, I think, in game 6 against New York the other night. And I think it was a big reason why they ended up closing the Knicks out was because they just kept running and they had a bunch of healthy bodies out there. And I think that's really where the entire league is going. I'm really excited for the contrast of styles between these two teams. One very offensive and one very defensive, but they both play really fast, which is cool. I feel like most of the time, one team, like when we get these finals matchups, one team plays slower, one team plays faster, and that's the contrast. They should be bing, 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 bing. And I'm excited about that. I'm so excited.
And it's so funny because I just naturally feel like OKC should be like a slower paced team just because they're so defensive oriented. But
sure.
It's really weird that they do thrive in like faster pace. They were literally OKC was 6th in pace this year, and Pacers were 7th. So literally like almost identical.
And in the playoffs, I think they're 2nd and 3rd Here, I got their pace up right here.
Yeah, I know Indiana's definitely picked up the pace and everything. And to be honest, they've just been better in the playoffs than they were in the regular season. And when they're at their best is when they're most, prolific on offense for sure. So
I think there was a stat somewhere that like since January 1st, they were like number 1 and 2 teams, like in terms of like hot streak kind of thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yep.
I believe it.
It's going to be interesting because I think OKC has the advantage based on how the playoffs have been so far. Defensively minded wings that are allowed to really just get in there and pester guys for the basketball. And it's interesting because, in the past, I think the defensive minded team that really had the advantage was the one with the better rim protector. But now just because they decided that they're letting guys body up on you, they're letting guys go for strips more. I mean, that has been OKC's MO, and they have just got so many dogs out there between Alex Caruso. I mean, even Shea can do that to a certain extent. And I think Tyrese is going to have a hard time operating and making things happen. Now we kind of get into the predictions part. I want this to be a good series. I like the contrasting styles. Obviously pace is a little bit similar, and I'm excited about the idea of someone new winning an NBA championship, but I'm worried that OKC is just too deep, man. They're just too deep. And I've just been feeling like for a while at this point, like Indiana in reality, like we didn't think throughout the year that they were going to be in this position. Like we didn't think so. Everybody was acting like Tyrese was just fool's gold based off of what, happened last year and how he started out slow this season. And now they've really turned it on. And I kind of feel like this is the part where that intensity and that depth of OKC is probably going to expose them.
Yeah. I don't think it's a shocker that we're probably, well, at least for me, like I have OKC and they're obviously like the overwhelming favorites right now. I think they're like the biggest favorites since if they were to lose, this will be the biggest upset since the 2004 Lakers in Detroit. So, but honestly, I've doubted the Pacers every single round. I had them losing to Milwaukee first round. And then I was like, all right, they're going to lose to the Cavs. And I'm like, oh, they're definitely going to lose to New York. And then now I'm like, I think they're going to lose to OKC as well. So
that's wild to me because I feel like they've got way more of a shot than like, say, the Cavaliers did against the Warriors in 2017. Like that's not, it's not really the most, I don't know, the most lopsided finals I've ever seen. But again, they are good. They have everything. Like heading into the last couple of years, it's almost like the playoffs have just changed. Like you used to value veteran leadership, poise, experience. And not saying this team isn't poised, but they're young. Like this OKC team is young. And to a certain extent, like we were talking about it in our own private texting chat, adolescent in a way. They're just childish,
I mean, honestly, can we go back to the internet real quick? I was actually going to point something out. All of these teams that made the final round, I think we're finally at this point where these old guys who coast during the regular season don't really try that much and then expect to turn it up in the playoffs. Maybe that era's kind of over. That would be cool. I'd be happy about that. Maybe we're kind of leaving a point because this is the other thing I was going to note. Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers, two teams that, correct me if I'm wrong, I know the Pacers made it in the first in-season tournament, and the Thunder made it in this past in-season tournament further and further along. You know what I mean? I think we're starting to see finally the changing of the guard, and maybe now these younger guys, and it's clear by how the playoffs went. All four of the final four teams are not teams with, to your point, Johnny, veteran leadership or veterans like older than 32, 33 in the main spots. It's about youth, depth, and a new way of playing. Like we're playing fast. Like and that is I think that's very important for the next evolution of the league. Is it going to be good for ratings right now? Who knows? I don't know. LeBron's not in it, so my grandmother won't watch. But like, that's the thing that's seriously what we're talking about though. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the casual fan. Will the casual fan watch? I think if the casual fan gives it a chance, they'll stay for the whole series. because I think this series is going to be exciting. But I think the odds of a casual fan tuning in excited, I don't know. I feel like that's slimmer. I've heard a lot of people being like, "Oh, boring series." Oh.
Well, it goes beyond the aspect of boring. Like I told you this, Russell. Like my wife is the epitome of a casual fan. She's like married into it. She has to care because she's married to an NBA YouTuber. But at the same time, like, you know, she knows Jokic, she knows Anthony Edwards, she knows Wemby, she knows LeBron. There's a series of players she knows, and she asked me who's in the NBA Finals. I say OKC and Indiana, and she says, "Well, who's the best players on those teams?" And I say Tyrese Halliburton and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and she's like, "Oh, I don't know either of them. Sounds boring." Like that. That is a pretty good indication of like how the normie fans, of how like non-hardcore basketball fans are looking at these finals. I don't know why. SGA is literally the MVP of the league, but for
first time we've seen that in a while too.
But for some reason, his name hasn't caught on. He's not box office for some reason, and I don't really know what it is, to be honest.
It's because there's people out there who are calling him a foul merchant and immediately putting a negative connotation on him. You think
so? Because my wife doesn't give a damn about that.
But it doesn't matter when the hardcore people aren't riding for you. That's what happens. You need that. You need the hardcore people to go to the normies, as you put it, and say, "You got to see this guy. He's awesome. He's awesome."
Maybe it's like it's kind of like the negatives of kind of the NBA kind of running their league more player based, you know, like where players matter significantly more. Because like a team like in the NFL, you got for the last 5 years now, you got the, you know, OKC, not OKC, sorry, the Kansas City Chiefs have been pretty much like running the show, and that's like a small market, haven't been like good in forever.
Missouri.
But it's just
they got Taylor Swift backing them, so I mean,
now, but the NFL like kind of is I think it not being run based off of just like players or teams is more so like the competition piece of it. I think that kind of like really like helps with the flow of people wanting to watch.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I feel like if the ratings suck in these NBA finals, it'll be the NBA experiencing the consequences of having a player-driven league instead of a team-driven league. Yeah. Because the media and the NBA, what do they go on about year after year? LA, New York. Where's the NBA draft held? You know, the big cities. Where was it held in the NFL? In a small little town in Wisconsin. You know, the NFL is very much about team. Everywhere is important. With NBA, you just hear it all over again, like all the time. It's big cities, it's big markets. See how much people care. So
I hope that the problem is more that people just don't know who these guys are than it being two small market teams. I kind of thought maybe we were getting past that. I
think it's both.
No, but as like as the internet grows, I feel like that becomes less of a problem. Whereas in the television era, or like, you know, when television was at its apex, like in the late 90s, let's say, or early 2000s, I feel like the market size matters significantly more than it would now.
Yeah, I genuinely think that because the NFL like kind of makes it like its own separate little event. Like the Super Bowl is like, to many people, no one even gives a crap. To many people who are there watching, they don't even care about what's happening in the game. They care about the halftime show. The NBA, like in the finals, it's a 2-week span where like hardcore fans really, really, really care. And a lot of times you have one or two parties during the, you know, like it's not.
Same thing with baseball. Same thing with it's all the series stuff. That's why I even as a kid, I was always like, man, March Madness, if we could get some of that action in the, what do you call it? And now we have the in-season tournament, which I like, but some people don't. But that's I wish there was some more of that in the playoffs. It's why I like the what do you call it? The 8 through 10 matchups. Why am I blanking on what they're called?
The play-in tournament.
Thank you. I don't know why I was blanking on that, but yeah, it's I have a play-in tournament. Same thing.
I have a question for you, Russell, because you said something that really stood out to me is you think this is going to be an entertaining series.
Definitely.
Wouldn't you feel like it'd have to be a longer series in order for that to happen? How many games do you see this series going? Because it's hard to say it's going to be really entertaining if it's over in 4 or 5.
So, yeah, I definitely don't think it's going to be over in 4 or 5. I'm fascinated to see what the matchup is going to be, because technically Oklahoma City does have the pieces to lock up an Indiana, right? But the one thing that Indiana has done to counterbalance a lot of that stuff is by playing fast to the point that these teams, as even on scoring possessions, they're throwing the ball to the other end before the defense is even set and getting buckets to staying in games. That's how they've been doing it. And I'm fascinated to see that matchup, because I actually think from the Oklahoma City standpoint, I think if they win this finals, they're absolutely at the top of the list for best defense of the modern era. And for me, modern is like since, let's say, 2010.
Yeah,
I think they're easily. I'd honestly be comfortable even if they lose. I think they're probably the best defense I've seen since 2010.
I will say, though, like, one thing that OKC has taken advantage of in these playoffs up to this point is ball dominant players.
Sure.
Anthony Edwards, able to smother him. Nikola Jokic, able to smother him.
Yeah.
Ball movement for Indiana, I think, is going to be critical. Tyrese has got to keep the ball moving. He's got to get the ball to Siakam. They got to get they got to swing that thing around to where you can't let OKC settle in and do what they do best. You got to keep them off their feet. And to be honest, I mean, if there's a team that's well suited to do it, I think Indiana and, Tyrese Halliburton doing what he does. I'm still picking them to win the series. I think there might be some close games, but I think it's going to be 5, man. I think because this OKC team isn't a sexy pick, they're not a popular team. I would say SGA isn't even technically a popular player right now, in the sense to where he's got a lot of haters. A lot of people don't like the foul merchant thing, regardless of where you stand on it. It's just the reality of the situation. And so because of that, I don't think people are really grasping like how excellent this team is, as far as how many games they won. They won 68 games. And then outside of the Nuggets series, it's been a cruise to the finals. And Jokic, kept that interesting because he's the best player in the league, in my opinion. But yeah, to me, this is an all-time great team. And I think people are waiting for things to become more interesting and more competitive with them when, to be honest, I don't think it was ever destined to be that.